One of the most common refrains of the Trump era is "the cruelty is the point." And it may be hard to argue otherwise, especially now with the images we've seen when it comes to the Trump administration's immigration policies. That ruthlessness has been on display for all to see for weeks. First, there was the horrifying footage of Narciso Barranco, father of Marine veteran Alejandro Barranco, seen in a now viral video being pinned to the floor by masked federal agents, arresting him while he was working his landscape job during a workplace raid. Narciso, who, according to his son, has no criminal record, is currently being held in an ICE detention facility. Then there was Army veteran and Purple Heart recipient Sejun Park, who has lived in the United States for nearly 50 years. According to his lawyer, Park, a 55-year-old green card holder, self-deported on Monday after immigration officials said he would otherwise be forcefully removed from the country over charges related to drug possession and bail jumping he received more than 15 years ago when he was suffering from PTSD. And now the Trump administration is being sued by a Honduran mother after ICE agents arrested her and her children at a Los Angeles immigration court, including her 6-year-old son, who was diagnosed with leukemia. The family was then transported to an immigration processing center in Texas, where they were detained for several weeks. According to the lawsuit, the 6-year-old missed a medical appointment related to his diagnosis as a result of the family's incarceration. Joining us now is Alora Mukherjee, director of the Immigrants' Rights Clinic at Columbia Law School. Laura, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
You just got back from Texas.
I did.
You know this Honduran family.
Yes, I'm representing them.
Tell us what is happening to them right now, how they are doing, and what you think is coming next.
Sure. So let me start by saying this is a family that has done everything right. They faced imminent and menacing death threats in their home country. They waited to enter the United States lawfully with authorization. The United States Department of Homeland Security paroled the family in after determining that they posed no danger to the community, that they weren't a flight risk. They told the family, show up in court on May 29th, 2025. And that is exactly what the family did. They complied with their immigration court proceedings, went to immigration court. The mom explained to the immigration judge, I want to continue with our cases, but the cases were dismissed. The judge granted the motion of the Department of Homeland Security to close the cases. When the mom, the 6-year-old boy, and the 9-year-old girl stepped out of the courtroom, there were men waiting for them, dressed in civilian clothing, who arrested them, detained them, told them they couldn't go home, told them they couldn't make a phone call. The family was detained for hours, first in the courtroom, then overnight at a Los Angeles immigrant processing center.
Wow. There,
the little boy saw an ICE agent or other official lift his shirt, which displayed a gun. That terrified the little 6-year-old boy. He urinated on himself. He was in wet clothing for hours until the family was put on a flight the next morning and then driven to the family detention center in Texas. What our lawsuit is seeking is the immediate release of this family. I have actually been pleading for weeks that this family be released. DHS has not granted that request, so we had no choice but to file this federal lawsuit, and we will see what happens next.
What is DHS saying to you in response?
They are barely responding at all. Their position is that their new ICE courthouse arrest policy is lawful and constitutional. Our argument is that it both is unlawful and unconstitutional. It violates the Fifth Amendment due process clause for people to be picked up and arrested, seized and imprisoned indefinitely for no reason at all. This is a family that was not a flight risk, not a danger to the community, as determined by DHS itself. Now the government, the executive branch, just can't pick up this family and thousands of other people around the country without giving them due process of law. Similarly, it violates the family's Fourth Amendment rights, because the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable seizure. And what has happened to this family is the very definition of an unreasonable seizure.
So Donald Trump ran on going after criminals and gangbangers, not
6-year-olds who did nothing wrong and
have cancer,
and did, their families did everything the right way. And this is not an isolated incident, right? I mean, could you talk to us about how common a case like this is, not necessarily with these exact details, but with a family that did follow all of the rules, came in through legal pathways, and is still facing detention and possible deportation?
Overwhelmingly, those who have been arrested, detained, and deported under the Trump administration have no criminal record at all, and certainly no serious criminal record. And in recent weeks, ICE has ramped up its efforts to target those who are law-abiding non-citizens, the very people who are showing up in immigration court to do everything right. They are the easiest targets for this administration, and that's who they're going after.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because if they are picking up people who are doing the right thing and are law-abiding and are showing up at their appointments on time, what does that mean? And what do you advise your clients?
It sends a terrifying message to immigrant communities nationwide that if you try to do the right thing, now you are at risk. And yet so many thousands of immigrants across the country are still showing up to their immigration court hearings because they believe in the promise of America and they want the opportunity to make their claims for humanitarian immigration relief. They believe in what this country can offer to them and their families, the promise of safety.
Laura, I'm still dumbfounded by, and I've asked you about this in the past, the immigration system here, and specifically the immigration judges who are granting the Department of Homeland Security the ability to deport these people when they go in for their routine appointments or their appointments. Why are immigration judges doing this? Are they not bound by the law in order to, as you said, abide by the Constitution, due process, hear a case out? Why are they just reflexively granting the government the ability to deport these people on the spot in a courthouse?
It's an excellent question. It's really important to keep in mind that immigration judges are not Article III judges who are independent of the executive branch. In fact, immigration judges are employees of the Department of Justice. They work for the executive branch. They do not have life tenure.
It sounds so flawed. It seems such a flawed system of justice. I mean, why do we even use the word judge?
It's a good question. Many people have said we should be using the term administrative law officer instead to describe how tenuous their relationship to being a judge is. So the executive branch issued multiple memos simultaneously last month. One was to the Department of Homeland Security's lawyers saying, make these motions to dismiss in immigration court. Another memo went to the immigration judges saying, grant these motions to dismiss immediately. Do not give families, individuals time to respond, as they are required to do under the relevant rules. And another memo went out to ICE saying, wait in the courtroom to arrest these law-abiding people who are coming to court.
Really quickly, and I'm sorry, we're almost out of time, but to remedy that, would that require an act of Congress? Would it require Congress to ultimately at some point, let's say a future presidential candidate says, we got to reform the system, we have to take these immigration judges and remove them out of the executive branch and make them independent?
Yes, and there have been many efforts over dozens of years to try and give immigration judges more independence.
Immigration reform continues to be something
that haunts our country.
Elected officials really just fail on. Laura Mukherjee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you are doing with these families.